Hello, this is Bethany Daly with GetKnitPegged.com, and I would like to share with you a comparison of flat loom knitting bind-offs today. And the first one that we have is the basic bind-off. See how, this is one of my favorites, of course, because it just makes a very nice chain across the bottom. What I'm using here for a cast on is a half hitch cast on, which is great for just a quickie cast on. But let me show you this swatch that I have. This is a chain or a crochet cast on, and it's paired with the basic bind off. And you see how very nicely matched those are. So those go great together. This is the bind off edge, and see how it's moderately stretchy, but it does end right about here on its stretchiness. And the next one I'm going to show you is the basic purl bind off. And the benefit with this is that it is great for using with garter stitch or any kind of edging that you're ending with a purl, or you need to end with a purl rather than a knit. It's done pretty much exactly the opposite of the basic bind off. And as you can see, it just provides a nice purl edge. This is the front side of it, and when we turn around and look at the back side, now you can see that telltale basic bind-off look with the chained edge across the bottom. And stretchy-wise, looks about like this, pretty much the same as with the basic bind-off. It's very comparable to that. And our next one then to show you is the single crochet bind off. Now look at that. Doesn't that look very similar to the basic bind off? And that is because it creates just about the same look as the basic bind off. The only difference is that it's done using your crochet hook rather than working the stitches right directly on your loom. And the stretchiness of this is pretty stretchy. It's not bad at all. It's got a little bit of a give. I think it might actually be a little bit more than the basic bind off. See, here's the basic bind off and the single crochet bind off. It feels just a little looser. So that's nice if you're looking for a little bit more ease in your bind off. Then the next one to compare with that is the double crochet bind off. Now this is also done using your crochet hook, but it creates a little bit of a double crochet kind of look to it because it's doing some extra stitches with your crochet hook right off your loom. And as you can see, it creates kind of a little bit of extra little gaps at the base there, which could be very useful for making cute little eyelets for running an I-cord through, or a little bit of ribbon. That would be nice. Or, check this out, how stretchy that is. Very stretchy. So that would be an excellent bind off to use if you have need for something that needs to go over somebody's head for a neckline or top of socks. If somebody is very extra sensitive to tight socks, that would be a really good one to use. And it has a little bit of a decorative edge, so that's nice too. And this is the super stretchy bind off. And with this, you do this right on your pegs using a yarn needle to sew through in a certain method that binds off your stitches in a really nice looking manner. It looks very efficient and clean looking, and it does give you, check that out, a lot of stretch. So if you were looking for a bind off that contained extra give, just like the double crochet, see how I showed you this? This one has this much stretch, and this one has a little bit less, I think, than the double crochet, but it's very similar. Let's compare that to our basic bind off, which is our bread and butter bind off really for loom knitting. See the difference? That is quite snug, comparable to the super stretchy bind off. Look at that. That's very, very loose. So yeah, Either one of these for stretchability would be great, but if you want a snugger look across your edge, then the double crochet bind off gives, because it is a little looser looking, then I would definitely recommend the stretchy bind off, or the super stretchy bind off. And that is it actually for our flat bind offs. And now let's take a look at some three-dimensional bind offs that you would use for shaped items. Hello there, this is Bethany Daly with GetKnitPaid.com, and I'd like to share with you a couple of three-dimensional bind offs that you would use for loom knitting. And the first and most common is the gathered bind off, which you would normally do for the top of a hat. Anything you want gathered, you would just sew through all your pegs, the loops on the pegs, release them, and then cinch in your tail, and this is what you are ended up with. It does get, when you're using it on adult hats or anything large, it does get a little bulky here, and to close that circle, you have to do a lot of stitching back and forth on the inside to get it to remove that hole and hopefully make this look as nice as possible on the front side. So that's that one. And then, as a comparison, we have this new bind off, which is also a gathered bind off, but I am completely sold on this one. It's done by Jeannie Phillips, and she has figured out how to make this beautiful gathered bind off, and it works good even on as many pegs as an adult hat has. It just turns out really pretty looking. Let me take this off so you can get a good look. See how that, it almost looks like a little sand dollar, but yeah, see, the top of a hat lays really nice and flat. And let me show you something neat. Even the inside looks nice and neat and orderly, and you don't have to do so much whip stitching through here to close that hole. It really does it kind of automatically in just a knot, and you're done. So I really love this one, and I will do it pretty much for any gathered top that I have to do from now on. The next three-dimensional bind off I'd like to show you is the decreased bind off, which is done along this edge, and as you can see, it just creates a curved edge. So anytime you need a little bit of a curve, the decreased bind off is the way to go. And also, the fun thing about this is it creates an edge that is very easily rolled onto itself, and you have a really cute and simple rosette right there. So isn't that great? You can really employ that decreased bind off for a lot of different techniques. And there you have it. These are three-dimensional bind offs that you can employ on your loom knitting projects. Thank you for joining us today, and have a wonderful, wonderful time looming your next project.